Hey there, everyone. Mike Me back with KTVU Fox 2 in the San Francisco Bay Area. After the long holiday weekend, stocks are up right now during this short work week, and that's a good thing. So let's talk money once again with Winnie Sun, Managing Director of Sun Group Wealth Partners. Thanks again, Winnie.
Thanks again for having me, Mike.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about first aid. Now, I've had a first aid kit in my car, but specifically financial first aid kit. When someone says that, what are we talking about here?
I'm so glad you bring this up. I've seen a lot of discussions on this online, and the importance of having a first aid kit financially is so important. And this is actually one of the best times to get yourself organized. So what we talk about is really going through the process of if you had to stop, run and go, and you needed everything financial wise in your life, how easy would it be to access? So this is stuff such as your living trust, copies of all your financial statements, copies of your credit cards, the fronts and the backs, and copies of your passport, all those important documents in one place. That's critical. And I think I've put together probably a list of about 15 to 20 items, but just think about if you needed to gather that data, who you would turn to and who has copies of your information. And that's really important.
So, what is, I mean, why is it important to have that? Like, I have a safe deposit box and it has some of what you mentioned, but I guess I don't have it all in one sitting. If you had to put your finger on the number one reason to have this financial aid kit, what would it be?
Well, the number one reason would be this. Like, I'm sure, Mike, in your household and my household, that's the same way too. One of us is stronger in managing our finances. So we pretty much like go to the accounts. We know where the money is. We know how to access, maybe to write checks out, or who to contact if we need to access that account. But what if we aren't able to, right? If
Right.
my husband had to then figure out where all the money was, or where the checkbooks were and the ATM cards to what account and the pins and everything, he would probably be in a lot of distress. So we want to make it for the people that we love. We not only want to keep it in something like a safe deposit box, but keep it nicely organized in a digital file, keep it encrypted. You can put it in like a drive like this, or you can put it on the cloud, but whatever you do, want to make sure it's encrypted. And I also recommend having a copy of all your financial documents with somebody that you trust out of state in another city. And if you have a financial advisor or an accountant that you trust, have them have a copy as well, because when you're going through a situation where you all of a sudden need these sort of documents, you want to know where to turn. In fact, when my clients were traveling still, I'd actually have them supply us with a copy of their passport before they went international travel as well.
Yeah, smart. I think I outdated myself with the whole safe deposit line there, but yeah, that's I love it. I love the financial first aid kit, and I need to jump on that. I always like to talk about retiring and discuss that a little bit. I'm a long ways away from it, so I'm not going to do it myself anytime soon. But for those who can't afford it right now, um, what opportunities are out there for them?
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of us, maybe we already filed our taxes, or maybe we haven't filed our taxes yet. You still have the ability to go ahead and save for your retirement. So if you have, like, I talked to someone actually this past week who said, well, I'm really gung ho about wanting to save, but I'm in transition with my job, but I've already maxed out on my 401k. What else can I do? And one of the best things you can do right now proactively is invest in an IRA in addition to the 401k. A lot of people don't know that. They think, well, if I have a 401k, I can't do an IRA. But actually, you can always do both. And you should speak to your accountant, because let's say you can't deduct that contribution, not the end of the world. You should still consider making your annual contribution, even if it's like $5,000 a year. And then consider, for those of you who qualify, consider putting it into a Roth IRA. So great way to really build on your future, but also save for an emergency fund. And that adds to it again, put it in the first aid kit. That's another bit of money for yourself.
So, what's the difference between the Roth IRA and the traditional one?
Well, many people are familiar with the traditional 401k, sort of the traditional 401k or the traditional IRA. They work the same way tax-wise, meaning that in most cases, oftentimes you're able to deduct your contribution going in. So let's say you put 5,000 into your IRA. In most cases, you'll be able to deduct that off your taxes for that particular year. But when you then take out money when you're post 59 and a half, when you're into retirement, when you take out that money, then it'll be subject to taxes. But if you contribute to a Roth IRA, like someone like yourself, Mike, this is perfect for you. You probably don't qualify initially because your income is probably too high to go directly to a Roth IRA. But for those of you who don't have that issue, you can go directly to a Roth IRA. And then it's after tax contributions, but 59 and a half and beyond, it's then tax free. But for someone like yourself, for example, I don't know your situation, but let's say hypothetically you don't meet that threshold, then you can actually contribute to a traditional IRA and then consider doing a Roth conversion. And that way, so even if you make too much money, you could potentially still stock away money into a Roth, and then again, it grows tax-free. So imagine, would you rather pay taxes on 5,000 or what that can grow to by the time you're 60 plus?
Exactly. Um, Speaking of tapping into an account, I mean, this number, 1 in 4 Americans right now have tapped into some sort of retirement account. That's a big number. I mean, obviously we're in a pandemic and it's happening, and you need money. You got to do money, and there's no way about it. Then I guess you're going to have to.
Mm-hmm. You have to. I mean, there's very limited choices. I just talked to a client last week, business owner, and they were concerned. So they took out like over 100,000 from their retirement account, and it just for like living and taking care of business things that they need to take care of. But then fortunately the PPP eventually came in, and so they're now considering paying that back. So if you need to take from your retirement, see that as a last resort. I mean, really look deeply. Is there other ways that you can gather money without tapping your retirement?
Yeah.
And if you have to tap your retirement, remember, you can pay it back like
You
this.
basically take a loan, right? It's a loan.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
exactly. Treat it like a loan.
So you're paying yourself back, which is great.
Right, and the interest goes in the case of a 401k, the interest that you're paying then also can go back to your own account as well.
Okay. So what about for those who lost a job, 38 million Americans right now,
Mm-hmm.
who aren't getting that paycheck right now? They have a mortgage, and the question is, should I go into forbearance on the mortgage or not?
Yes, this is also trending news. A lot of people have been talking about whether or not to go into forbearance. Now, forbearance, for those of you who know already, is where you will speak to your mortgage bank, whoever holds your mortgage. Maybe it's a bank, right?
Yeah.
And if you speak to them, oftentimes they'll let you relieve you of those mortgage payments for up to a year. Now, that's something to consider. If you're in a situation that you don't have income, what you want to do is you want to give your bank a call and talk to them about that. But make sure you understand the pros and cons of that. Obviously, a big pro is that you're able to delay your mortgage payments. Now, the negative, though, and this was also trending news, was we had people who were in the real estate industry or other industry call their bank just to inquire about how forbearance worked, and the bank actually naturally put them on forbearance, thinking that they wanted it. And it's not always the case, because if you still have an income or you still have a paycheck coming in, if you go on forbearance, this could actually eliminate you temporarily the ability to refinance your home, set up a HELOC, or even borrow again. So make sure you understand the terms. And if you're not sure, make sure you get everything in writing from your bank.
Good points there, and especially the point about just communicating, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you're in contact with someone at the bank, and get the talk going, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Have that conversation. And this is the time to do it, to find out all your options without making that decision of what you're going to do for sure. Find out, because these things are changing by the daily. I mean, we see even with our own government, the terms and conditions, the stimulus packages, they're changing all the time.
Yeah. I saw a number out there this morning. We reported when it comes to air travelers, and excuse me as I look down. There's my notes. 348,000 travelers this past Friday for the holiday weekend at TSA checkpoints. That's the
Mhm.
highest number that they've had on one day since March 22nd. So maybe Americans are starting to rethink traveling, and they're ready to go and pack up. So what financial matters when I'm talking about packing up and going on vacation? I've already canceled one vacation in early July. What should they be thinking about if they are considering whether or not to pack up, buy a flight, and take a vacation?
Yeah, so that thank you, Mike, for asking that question. I think the first thing you want to do is what we talked about right in the beginning of the show, which is get your financial first aid kit completely organized and ready to go. That's critical. The other thing you want to do is if you're considering travel, remember because of the pandemic, there's going to be other issues that are going to come into place that normally don't come into place for a vacation, right? So this is a time to think about like your health insurance, whether or not that health insurance is going to translate well into the place that you're going to be visiting, and the documents that you want to take with you in addition to your financial documents. Like you might need to have access to your health records as well. And you're really looking at not just the bottom line of the best deal, but think about the other things that are going to come into place. Like for example, maybe if the place that you're going to, are restaurants going to be readily available? Are markets, the place that you're going to, are you going to be able to stay there long term if things sort of shift all of a sudden? So when we're talking about managing your finances and preparing you for today and the future, now we're talking about also preparing for the just in cases before you book that travel.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. In case there's a second wave, and what
Hmm.
does the hospital system look like where you're going on vacation,
Right.
so
Right.
uh,
That's really critical because if you take a look at a place like Hawaii, right, you
yeah.
want to take a look how a lot of places in Hawaii, they have a shortage of beds compared to those of us here in California, right, in the hospital. So things to consider.
Speaking of vacation, lawmakers back east, they like to take vacations. And so and I asked this before we let you go here about, because in our previous conversations, we've talked about the next stimulus package, if it's even going to happen.
Mhm.
What are you hearing in regards to are Americans going to get more stimulus financial relief from the government?
Well, it's going to come eventually at some point. We just don't know when, because unfortunately, the Democrats did their job. They passed it through the House, but unfortunately, Republicans have put this on a standstill, which, it could be a good thing because I think they really need to figure this out to make sure it's appropriate for Americans, that the funding goes to the appropriate ways, it's well thought out, and it's carefully planned out. But most importantly, that it's an efficient manner so that it means that you're getting your checks that you need sooner rather than later. And because really, they're not even completely paid out on the first round, believe it or not. But hopefully, we have a decision soon because right now, one of the big factors is the matter of unemployment and the stimulus. Their Democrats are hoping that we're going to get up to $6,000 per family, which would be great. In addition, they're hoping to extend unemployment benefits to January of 2021, but Republicans have clearly said that they absolutely will not support that. So hopefully they can come to a happy medium, and most importantly, that Americans do find that financial stability that they need as we go through not just the next few months, but like long term. The next 6 months would be ideal.
So maybe by Independence Day, by the 4th of July, we should know.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's the idea. So June 1st, our politicians are coming together and discussing this starting June 1st, and the goal is to have some sort of resolution before Independence Day.
Okay. All right. Just a note for our viewers here. You can watch this interview and other interviews all tied to the coronavirus on our website that we're streaming 24/7, coronavirusnow.com. Winnie Sun, Managing Director at Sun Group Wealth Partners. Winnie, thanks again. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much, Mike. See you soon.
Okay.